Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our industry event today, which we will be talking with Mimi Chen about your words and what you say matters. It is another form of marketing yourself. So today we'll be covering everything from writing bios, writing listing descriptions, how to talk with your clients via text, etc. So I'm very excited because this is an overlooked part of our marketing where agents aren't always writing thorough descriptions or no descriptions at all. So today, hopefully we can get some help, learn together of how to write. Mimi has been a writer within the real estate industry for many, many years, writing for builders and different developers, doing the marketing for them. So she is the perfect person to help us today. And with that, Mimi, I will turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Olivier. Good morning, everybody. Happy to see you all on here. I'm going to share my screen in a couple of moments here and run us through some content that I hope you guys can all gain some benefits from, and then hopefully you can walk away with some tips and tricks to help you in your real estate writing. So I'll get right into it. I'll share my screen. Here we go. So what we're going to talk about today is how to sharpen your real estate bio, your listing, and your communication. So my name is Mimi Chen. I've been in the real estate industry for about the last 10 years, working directly with real estate developers, specifically on the marketing side and also on the project management side. So I'm going to run us through a bit of an agenda of what we're going to cover today. And then towards the end, we'll have a discussion and a Q&A just to spark some dialogue and help each other out if we've got any challenges that we face on the day-to-day. Yeah, the discussion should take us about 30 minutes. So get comfortable, grab yourself a cup of coffee or some water, and we'll get right to it.
Great. So,
all right. So we'll cover these items today. First, we'll talk about understanding your audience and your client. Secondly, we'll cover structure and tips on how to improve your bio, how to write a listing description, a couple of different ways to say some key phrases and common terms you usually hear in real estate. And then we'll finish it off with some tips on how to close in person, over the phone, and via email. So firstly, understanding your client and your audience. Why is this so important? I think we often forget that home buying is such a big emotional decision for our clients. You know, when we're in the industry, we're focused on closing the deal, we're focused on the transaction, and we're focused on the actual paperwork of things. But we've got to remember that this is probably some of the biggest decisions your clients are going to make. This is probably some of the biggest dollars that they're ever going to transact. And so there's a lot of emotions behind them when they're thinking about where they're going to live, what their family situation is going to be like. So it's important to remember that because we're really in the business of building relationships. You know, once you've set a good foundation for building relationships, it adds to your reputation. You know, you're likely to get a referral, you're likely to get further business down the line from having a good reputation and from building the relationships you have from the get-go. I think it's really important to understand your client's why and speak to that because this really builds rapport. It allows them to see that you understand their challenges. It allows them to see that you really understand the troubles they're going through or the wins that they're trying to achieve. And not only that, you want to be able to build trust with your client and your audience. And to do that, showing empathy and bringing a human level to it, you know, towards their concerns or to whatever that it is that they're going through, it really builds trust. So starting with a good foundation is really key to understanding your client and building a good relationship. So
Mimi, it sounds like it's your first impression with the client. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, you want to come across like you're not there just to make the money. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that you're there as the advisor, as somebody that they can lean on and build some trust.
Great.
All right. So item number 2, We're going to talk about structures and tips to improve your bio. I'm going to give you a structure that you can follow, and then I'll give you a couple of examples, and I'll walk you through those examples so you can see how that actually looks. So first thing, as part of your structure, I'd like you to include a quote that represents your values and your work ethics. This doesn't need to be a long quote, just something simple and direct. Secondly, why does real estate excite you? Why are you a realtor to begin with? Third, accomplishments within the real estate. Even just getting your real estate license is a big accomplishment. For some of you that have been in the industry for a long time, perhaps you have some other accolades you'd like to include on there. But for some of the people that haven't been in real estate that long, getting your license is a huge accomplishment already. Number 4, talk about what you love in your day-to-day. This allows them to get to know you on a little bit more of a personal level. And again, that builds a little bit more rapport. Number 5, what are your hopes in your future? What are your hopes for your future? And number 6, location and area of expertise. Lastly, a call to action. So I want you to think about your bio almost like an advertisement for yourself. Anytime you see an advertisement, whether it's, on Amazon or you're seeing it in the newspaper, whatever it might be, you always see a call to action because you want to lead them to either pick up the phone or call you or send you an email or send you a text. So remember, that's really important. The next couple of slides, I'll show you some examples. I'll read them to you. And if you've got any questions, let's save those towards the end. First example, so you'll see the portion that's highlighted in the black there, that's Tanya's quote. So something simple like, love what you do and do what you love by Ray Bradbury. Simple, direct, to the point, but it talks about what she really values. So Tanya, who became a realtor in 2012 and joined RE/MAX in 2013, has such a deep passion for real estate that she visits open houses on vacation. The recipient of the Leaders Award in 2016 and 2017, Tanya is happiest when she sees looks of satisfaction on her clients' faces when they've received a fantastic offer or found their dream home. Today, she divides her time between Linwood and Crescent Beach. In the future, she hopes to watch her business grow as she assists more clients with the purchase or sale of their property. Tanya recently checked scuba diving off her bucket list, and her latest travel adventure was to Miami, where she hopes to build a custom home one day. So that bottom portion that's italicized and bold, that's your call to action, and that's your location and area of expertise. So for Tanya, this reads, I work in Vancouver East, West Vancouver, and Vancouver West. I specialize in condos, first-time home buyers, houses, investors, and pre-sale. I speak Spanish and English. Call or email me today with your contact information.
Great.
I've got another example to show you, and this one is Jared. So Jared's quote is, have the courage to live a life true to yourself, not the life of others expect of you. For Jared, he started his career in construction, home building, renovations, and project management. He became a realtor in 2019. What he loves most about his real estate career is building relationships with his clients, and he finds it rewarding to assist them in finding their dreams, homes big or small. He hopes to be known for his excellent service and become a top realtor in his community. Jared is a long-term resident of Kitsilano, an area he loves for its beaches, mom-and-pop shops, and tight-knit community. He likes to begin his day reminding himself of everything he has to be thankful for and to unwind with a long run along the seawall at the end of the day. I work in Vancouver East, Vancouver West. I specialize in condos, first-time home buyers, houses, investors, real estate, investors, pre-sale, seniors, and townhomes. So for Jared, he hasn't been in real estate as long as Tanya has, but he spoke a little bit about what led him to real estate. And so I think that's a good segue, and it shares a little bit about your choices and what led you to real estate that adds to your accolades. So what I find helpful is, if I go back 2 slides, is if you answer these questions one by one, before you try to put it into a statement or before you try to fully write it into a bio, will probably help you structure it a little bit better.
Got it. Mimi, I'm going to jump in for 1 second. Guys, make sure you're logged into YouTube and please type in questions. We will cover all your questions at the end. We don't want you to forget them. So if you log into YouTube, you can type in your questions and we'll definitely cover them at the end.
And I'll make sure you guys all have a copy of this deck after so you can reference it later on.
Perfect.
So we'll move on to agenda item 3. How to write a listing description. Again, similar structure as the previous portion. I'll run you through the structure of it, and then I'll show you some examples of how that really works. So first up, main key facts. This is straight, simple, direct, but you'll be surprised by how often I see this missing in a lot of listing descriptions. Address, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and the square footage. Second, what sets the property apart? Is it that you're located next to a park? Do you have ample morning light because you're northeast facing? Third, design features worth mentioning. Do you have, for example, a master bedroom with vaulted ceilings and a private balcony? Now, to differentiate item number 2 and item number 3, item number 2 is specific to the location, the actual setting of the property. Versus item number 3 is about the actual home. So think about it from going macro to micro when you're differentiating the difference between item number 2 and item number 3. Number 4, your listing details and your stats should always be in a bullet point or in a grid format. You think about the clients that are looking at multiple homes and they're going back to look at listing descriptions. You want to make it as easy as possible it is for them to reference these key things. It also makes it a lot easier for you to just list them out in bullets or in a grid instead of trying to write it as full statements. Excellent photos. I can't stress this enough. You're selling 6-figure price tag homes. You're not selling something on Craigslist. It's so important to have professional photos. And it's key that the photos look clean. You've got good lighting. You've got some good staging. And it's tidy. It looks, like somebody would want to live there or somebody would want to go there for a viewing.
Yep.
6, I think it's also really important to have a neighborhood overview, whether it's a distance to the city center, to the airport, number of schools in the district, and a little bit about the market is key. This is going to set you apart to come across as somebody that really knows what's happening in real estate. After all, you are an advisor, so you want to make sure that you're understanding what's happening in your market, whether that's the average list price and size of the neighborhood, how many homes are for sale in the neighborhood, and the home types. And lastly, your contact info and your headshot. So the next couple of slides, I'm going to run you through what that looks like in an actual listing.
Great.
Here's an example. Simple, direct, right at the top. You've got your address. You know where it is. You've got your MLS numbers, the number of bedrooms, numbers of bedrooms, bathrooms, and the size. I'll read you this description because I think it's pretty concise and it does a good job. Showcasing 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, this bright and spacious townhome at Grandview's elite Highland Park provides an effortless lifestyle. Seamlessly laid out over 1,800 square feet, the chef's kitchen and open concept entertaining area creates the perfect setting for hosting friends and family. Upstairs boasts 2 bedrooms with ample space for king-size beds, as well as a generous master bedroom featuring an expansive walk-in closet and spa-like ensuite. With a private 2-car garage and secluded backyard, this townhome offers all the externalities of a detached house. Open house Saturday, Sunday, July 9th and 10th. So as I'm reading out this listing description to you, you can almost imagine yourself walking through the home, right? You understand where the location is. You understand that it's near a park. You get the idea of how big it is. It talks about the kitchen. It kind of walks you through upstairs, and you know that you've got a 2-car garage. So make sure you sort of flow your sentence structures, that you're not starting talking about the kitchen and then you're jumping into a nearby park and then you're talking about a private garage. The way I like to think about it again is go from macro to micro. And when you're talking about the portion that's inside the home, sort of go from the most important places of the home to the least important. I think kitchen is always at the heart of the home. And so make sure that as you're writing it, you can sort of imagine yourself walking through the home.
Yep, great.
Good example of a way to list the key specs or the key details. You can also reference this as some of the main buckets or categories to include in your listing detail. And some good photos. You've got good lighting, the homes are staged well, it's clean, simple.
Great.
And this neighborhood overview. So it talks about how close you are to the airport. It talks about how many schools. I'll just read you the portion about the market, because this will give you an example of what's a good summary of what's happening in the market. There are currently 141 homes for sale in Grandview, Surrey, made out of condos, townhomes, and houses with an average list price of $1.5 million. An average townhome in Grandview, Surrey has 4 bedrooms, is 1,900 square feet, and lists for $826,000. Townhome prices range from $619,000 to $1.089. So it's really important because not only are you advising, but you're sharing some knowledge to your clients. And so they're going to refer back to you for further knowledge. And this, again, goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of building rapport and building trust. So they're starting to see you as somebody that's knowledgeable. They're starting to see you as somebody that's got experience and that's got the expert in real estate.
Got it.
Beautiful. Okay, so we'll talk about the next portion, some different ways to say some key phrases and some common terms. So I'm going to start off with a tip and then a few examples of what to avoid. So avoid keyword stuffing or using way too many fluffy words to create a run-on sentence. Always use a list or bullet points where possible. So here's an example of what to avoid. This large, spacious home not only features but boasts 12-foot ceilings, while the kitchen is highlighted by its stunning and decorative Carrara marble backsplash made in the rural countryside of Italy. A better way to say that is, this spacious home features 12-foot ceilings throughout with a stunning kitchen highlighted by its Italian Carrara marble backsplash.
Nice.
You see that there's a lot of repetitive words in the option to avoid. You know, things like spacious and large arguably means the same thing. Yeah. Features and boast arguably means the same thing. So make it just as concise and to the point as possible, I think will be the most effective.
I gotta chime in. I completely agree. I think less is more, and consumers don't want to read an essay. They just want, to the point description of the house. Mm-hmm.
And I think when you add too many fluffy words, you're almost overselling. Like people go, what are they trying to prove? Like what might be the problem, or what's wrong with the house? Like why are they advertising that it's beautiful and fluffy and stunning and decorative and this and that? Like it could come across just too much.
Got it.
So here's some words. Here's some different ways to say some key phrases as it relates to space design. I've bucketed them in categories: large, small, design-related words, and old. I think old is probably the most challenging because you don't want to come across as something that people don't want. So some other ways to say that might be quaint, well-loved. I think mature is a good option. I would caution using the word heritage only where it actually is applicable, because heritage means that it would have to be designed in a certain era, pays homage to a certain design aesthetic. So just caution on that word, but I think some of the other ones are really good options for you.
Great.
Again, we'll make sure you guys have this slide so you can reference later on. Here are some different ways to say phrases regarding to location and community. I think it's important to give people a good proximity to a destination. So are you 5 minutes from the closest shopping center? You're centrally located to give people a little bit more context than just nearby or you're close to. And mixing those up within your listing description just gives a little bit more variety. Community is a really strong component and a really, really important part to living, to living and choosing where you want to live. So choosing the right words to describe the community will be really key.
Great.
Some common terms I'm sure you guys have all heard of within real estate as it relates to sales. So I won't go over this too much, but here's just a reference for you. And then I think this one is probably some of the most, the challenges that you get probably on the day-to-day is in terms of how do you what's another way of saying motivated seller? Is it?
Yeah.
Key
That's a big one.
Mm-hmm. I think saying something like a quick close, because sometimes I think motivated seller could come across as the seller is a little bit antsy or a little bit desperate to just, get it off the market, which may be true. But when you're selling to your client, you don't want to rush them, right? This is an emotional decision. You don't want to push them towards a decision that they might not be ready for. But when you say something like quick close, that to me sounds like you've got an opportunity. You've got an opportunity that is going to pass by you if you don't act quick, if you don't act fast. Bring all offers, again, could sometimes come across sounding a little bit desperate, but I think open to offers just lets you know that you're still vetting them. It's not, I'll take any offer. And so it kind of feels some of the lesser below asking offers that you might receive. Needs TLC or needs updating, I think these options are interchangeable. Opportunity for renovation, that opens up to a market that might be looking for remodeling or renovating a home.
Yeah.
Won't last is a bit of like a car salesman term, I think, but price to sale, I think, is a softer and more professional way of saying that. And location is like very often overly used within real estate. So if perhaps perfectly situated or prime location might be a better option to use.
Mimi, I got to say that slide was priceless. That was amazing, because those are typically, every listing will say motivated seller, bring all offers, location. And to your point with the motivated seller and bring your offers, it's almost like you're putting the seller's cards on the table, right? It does sound desperate. And I love the play on words of how you can say it differently in a more crisp and sharpened, polished delivery.
Mm-hmm.
With the same meaning, but it's just more polished.
Exactly. And I think that'll differentiate yourself from other realtors. And I think it's also important to create a bit of a buffer between the seller and the buyer so that, they exactly like, as you say, not all their cards are shown.
Exactly. Love it.
Perfect. So we'll move on to the next portion. This will be the last part before we have our discussion and our Q&A. And we're going to cover tips on closing in person, over the phone, and email or text. So we're circling back a little bit to what we talked about at the very beginning of the presentation, which is understanding your client's why and speaking to that. Again, this is such an emotional decision for people that if you dissolve the worries that they have regarding real estate, you're really building that relationship, and you're building that from the get-go. And that in turn is going to help you lead to further referrals or further clients. And it's just the best way to be, I think, managing your relationships with your clients. Secondly, know your market, know your listing, and know your competition. I think understanding your market is key to coming across confident and earning your clients' trust. It doesn't mean, being dishonest and just answering whatever it is that they have. But if they've got a question that you don't know, just say, you know what, I'll get back to you. I'd love to help you with this. But coming across with that confidence is really going to help you win their trust. Knowing your listing is key to a successful showing. Think about how you're going to show the home. I suggest you would never go and show a home with a client if you've never been in that home. Think about that. For clients, this is a experience. Selling a home is an experience. Walking through a home is an experience. You want to think about, okay, when I bring the client in, what is it going to look like? What are the first key things I'm going to talk about? Am I going to bring them straight to the garage, or am I going to bring them straight to the kitchen? Will you have some snacks or some beverages laid out for them that they can enjoy? Perhaps even putting out a couple of signs that could trigger some of your memory to talk about. So, if you want to put a sign on the kitchen island so that you reference and talk about some of the key specs as it relates to, the appliance packages or whatnot. Just make sure that you walk through the home yourself so that you're not fumbling with light switches, smart home features and whatnot. This is key because it's an experience for them. When they walk away from that showing, they're going to remember, oh yeah, I really liked how I can come in the home, I can hang my jacket, and then I can put this here. Like, they're starting to imagine themselves living in the home. So make that experience as smooth as possible, and it's going to help you close a deal.
Amazing.
Knowing your competition is key to differentiating your listing. Your clients are for sure looking at other properties within the area. You should probably go and shop those properties so that you know what they're offering. So that when you're writing your listing description, how do you make it different? And how do you stand out from the 4 or 5 or 20 other listings that you're competing against? Always proofread and spell check. Be responsive and not reactive. So we know that clients can be emotional. We know even investors can be somewhat emotional, although they have different sets of needs. Is when you're dealing with them, is take a minute. You're not at the whim of people of having to respond. Within a minute of getting a message or an email. It's just take a minute, digest, think about it, strategize your next step and the step after that before you respond, so that you're always on your front foot. And lastly, be authentic, kind, and patient. There's nothing that comes across worse than just being not yourself. Understanding that these clients are going through a big decision in their life, being kind and patient is really going to help you grow your business and build relationships and build a client base. So I think that wraps up what I have to talk about today. I'm going to open it up to a discussion and a Q&A if any of you guys have anything to share, some of the challenges that you face on the day-to-day, anything that you can make adjustments with what I've shown you today. Hopefully there are some key takeaways and some things that will help improve your real estate writing.
Thank you so much. That was great. Guys, please type in any questions. We'd love to answer. We'd love some feedback. And Mimi, I want to make a comment that when you talked about the customer experience, you are spot on. We have a saying that it's not so much customer service, it's more customer experience, because that's what they remember. And we all strive to provide great customer service, but what translates to the buyer is the customer experience or the seller. So it is, guys, about the customer experience, because that's what they remember. That's what's going to make you get referrals or not, and going to make them feel like they're going to write a great review for you or not. So it's all about the customer experience. I completely agree. That was spot on.
I think a good way to kind of differentiate that is think about when you walk into a Four Seasons or a Fairmont versus when you walk into like a Holiday Inn. You get customer service at Holiday Inn, arguably. You go in, you check in, you get your keys, and you want, order some room service. It'll show up at your door. But you walk into the Four Seasons and you walk into the Fairmont, they greet you by your name. They know they look at you in the eye. They get you what you need even before you ask for it. And that's the kind of experience that we should be equating or referencing when we're working with clients and we're advising them and guiding through in their home purchase journey.
Great. So I have a question. I see this often, and I see it on consumer-facing portions of our business, meaning I see it on the listings that are publicly facing consumers. What are your thoughts on abbreviations, meaning 3-bedroom and the agents are writing BR, 3-bath and they're writing BA? What are your thoughts on that?
I think first is be consistent. If you're going to do it one place, make sure you do it everywhere so you're not confusing your consumer. And secondly, make sure that the abbreviation is something that consumers would actually understand. So here's an example. So in the listing description that I showed you at the very top, that was an abbreviation, right? It showed you the number of bedrooms and it was abbreviated, and the number of bathrooms and that was abbreviated. But in the actual description where there were sentence statements and sentence structures, those were not abbreviated. Those were fully written out. So choose where you're going to do it and make sure that it's consistent across the board. I think when you're using a title, fair enough to abbreviate, because sometimes you have text limits, and if you're just using, say, a headline, or you're writing an ad or something and you have text limits, abbreviate, but make sure it's something that people understand, and make sure it's consistent. Got it.
We have a question that says, if I specialize, if I cover all aspects of real estate in my bio, is it fair to say that I specialize in 6 or 7 different areas? meaning short sales, foreclosures, luxury homes, first-time buyers, et cetera?
Yeah, why not? I think it's if you specialize in them, you should highlight it as that's your experience and that's your expertise, because they might be, that might attract a different client than, say, if you were specializing in 3 of those 7 items. That person might go, you know what, I'm also a commercial investor or looking to buy a commercial space, but I'm also looking for a home for my family. You're going to open yourself up to a different market, because that might differentiate you from some of the other agents.
Got it. And you mentioned headshots.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of agents that have headshots on business cards, have headshots on signage that's in front of the home. Do you think that there's a benefit to having the headshot?
I think so. Yeah, you want to be recognizable. When somebody sees your face on a business card, say I'm a buyer and I'm shopping around looking for the right home, and I haven't gotten a realtor yet, and I'm going from open house to open house, and I'm collecting business cards from the 5 to 10 open houses I'm going to that weekend. And I get home, I'm like, I don't remember who Bill is. I don't remember who Samantha is. I don't remember who so-and-so is. But then I see Olivier's face on a business card. I'm like, oh, I remember this guy.
Yeah.
I'll give him a call. You start to trace back to the conversation that you had.
Yeah, I guess it's much easier to remember a face. You'll recognize a face versus just a name. There's
Exactly.
millions of bills, and it all kind of blurs together if you meet a lot of agents.
Now, make sure your photo actually is current, and make sure your photo looks like yourself.
You nailed the common realtor trick, right? Which is a photo from 10 to 20 years ago.
Yeah, I've seen those with like 90s hairdo, and it's
very, very common. We have another question, which is, when you're trying to sell a home that's harder to market,
mm-hmm.
whether it's cluttered or it's just it doesn't show well, do you write nothing at all, or do you just try to describe the best that you can?
I would see what you could do to make the home show better. And perhaps that's having a direct conversation with the seller, because they're obviously keen to sell the home. And you've got to coach them a little bit as well, and go, you know what, we really want to get this home sold for you. But in order to do that, we need to do X, Y, Z. We need to declutter. We need to put some things in storage. We need to take some better photos. And then at least then you can help them see why. And maybe you even show them some of the other listings and go, here's an example of a great listing and why it's sold. And here's what your listing would look like. And do you want it on the market for 180 days? Have them make that decision for you. If that doesn't work, do your best to describe it honestly, but also what its best potential could be.
Got it. So I don't see any questions, guys. If you have anything, please type it in. But Mimi, what would be 3 takeaways that you think, if you take nothing from this, these are the 3 to really implement in your business?
Mm-hmm. I think 1 is remembering that you're in the business of building relationships, and you're about providing an experience, not just a service. That's takeaway number 1. Number 2, I think creating a consistent structure when it comes to writing will help you later. Will help you over time, because you're not having to recreate anything. And as you get more listings, as you get busier, you already know. You've trained your brain to understand, okay, this is the first thing I need, this is the second thing I need, and you're almost creating a checklist for yourself, so that you can then focus on building the relationships, and you can then focus on creating experiences.
Great.
Third is I think when it comes to showing a home, you got to make sure that you've walked through the home. You've got to make sure that you've practiced what that tour is going to look and feel like, so that experience is something that they take away from that experience, is going to influence them wanting to buy the home or not, which in turn is gonna end in likely a sale and some referrals later on.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Mimi, this was amazing. A lot more than the 3 takeaways. I love the slides on the different ways to say the common things that every listing that we typically look at. We're all using the same jargon and terms. So that really, really helps in just giving us some direction of, the customer experience, as well as being consistent in your writing and tying it all together. This was really, really good. I do have a question that just popped up. My bio is long. Is that a problem? It's about 4 paragraphs.
I would say that's a little too long. See if you can pull out some of the main points. First try to answer the questions that I've given you. And if those equate to the four paragraphs that you have, pare it down. Choose maybe 1 or 2 sentences from each of the 4 and pare it down to one paragraph. They're not there to read an essay, even though your bio might be amazing and you've got a whole lot to share. Save that for when you meet them in a face-to-face setting.
Great. And should that same bio be uniform everywhere?
Yeah, I would make it consistent so that when they go, oh, you know what, I remember this person, I read this bio, and make sure that your bio is current and up to date. I would at least go in there every year and just, if you've got things that are about time stamped, make sure you're updating those and update your bio every at least once or twice a year. Or sorry, every 1 to 2 years.
Got it. So I believe that is it. Guys, I'm sorry, I didn't do a proper introduction at the beginning. I am Olivier Lewis with RE/MAX First Realty in Cranford, and my partner Carl Sanfilippo is part of RE/MAX First Realty in East Brunswick. So thank you for attending. We appreciate it. Next month, we're excited to talk about short sales as they are coming back in this market. So we have a speaker who's an attorney, that Bill Soko. He works with us in our offices with helping with short sales. So he's going to explain everything A to Z and get you guys prepared, as short sales will be coming back and will be part of our market again. So look forward to that next month. We will send that out to everyone. Mimi, thank you. We will share the slides. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to us. We appreciate everyone's time. Mimi, we appreciate your insight on how to write, how to sell with our marketing, what we say counts. And this has been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you all for joining me this morning. I hope you've had some key takeaways.
Absolutely, we did. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care.